Hi, and welcome to week 3 of Project 900. I'm so glad you're here. We're gonna get deeper into some really amazing features of ChatGPT and Gemini. There are similar features in other platforms as well, but I'm just gonna focus on these two today. And I am gonna be diving into some paid profile or paid account features. So just bear that in mind. The ChatGPT account I think I'm on is like $20 a month. I think the Gemini account is even less than that. So bear that in mind, but for $20 a month or less, it gets you a lot of power and a lot of ability. And so I think it's probably worth it, at least for testing it out. So let's get into it. We're diving deeper into AI, unlocking advanced features for nonprofits. If you do good in the world and you want to learn more about AI, you're in the right place. Let's get started. So why are we going to go deeper? We're going to build on the foundation that you already have. We're going to amplify your efficiency and make you able to get more done and do more good in the world to maximize your impact. That's why we're here. That's why I've started Project 900. And I hope that's why you're sharing Project 900 with your friends. And if you haven't already, just take a pause and go share Project 900 and something you've learned so far on social media. Hashtag Project 900, drive people back to project900.com to sign up. And if you haven't already, also go make sure to join our community, thegoodcollective.us. That's where we are housing all of the archive of the videos. And that's where we're going to be discussing things and having chats and posting ideas and aha moments and all kinds of things. I'm posting there all the time. So please make sure you're part of thegoodcollective.us as well. Now, continuing on with week 3, custom GPTs. Custom GPTs are really interesting, and I'm going to try to juxtapose a custom GPT with a project in ChatGPT, and they're very similar, but just a little bit different. So custom GPTs are going to be best for example, if you could create a custom GPT for writing your nonprofit's newsletter, because you can train it on tone and style, and you can give it sort of a few little guidelines and then say, okay, hey, here's all the information I want in this month's newsletter. Now write my newsletter. And it will do a pretty good job of that. That's a good use case for a custom GPT. You can also add in plugins and other things like that, but that's a little more advanced. That's a little further down the road. It's good for grant writing, like it says here. It's good for volunteer coordination and drafting training materials and creating engagement ideas. Good for all of those things. Now, projects, on the other hand, are going to be good for, well, projects. So for example, you could run all of your nonprofit's marketing out of a project. And the thing that's going to be nice and helpful about that is you can load in a bunch of documents and it will contextually understand the history of those documents and all of your chat history, and will remember that when it's giving you back information. So let me give you some examples here, because that might be helpful. So this is a custom GPT I created for Project 900 originally. And it's kind of got my style in it, and it can sort of craft things with my style and my tone of voice, but it doesn't have like a full history of like, what's the outline for the entire course? What did we do in week 1? What did we do in week 2? It can't tell me that. That's not stored in, it doesn't have a memory like that. But in ChatGPT projects for Project 900, you can see right here, I have project files. And if you open up these project files, you can see I've got week 1, I've got the overview for the whole course. I've got week 1's lessons. I've got week 2's lessons. I've got week 3 lessons. I've got all of the emails that I've sent out and all of the assignments. And so then when I go to ChatGPT and ask it to do something, it has all that context. In addition to that, I can give it instructions. So I can say, you're a nonprofit professional educator specializing with an expertise in AI. You get the idea. So I can do that here. I can also then ask it to do things with the context of everything it has in mind. Now we're going to get into prompting a little bit later, but I want to give you a hint into next week's thing, which is going to be more advanced prompting, just so you see what's coming. So I did 2 examples here for you. One was, hey, give me a lesson plan, a week 4 lesson plan draft based on all the stuff we've done so far. And it was kind of a weak prompt. And so if you go up to here to the top, this is the prompt, pretty weak prompt. And it gave me a pretty decent little lesson plan, but not nearly as much, not nearly as robust as I wanted for it to be. Now, what I did then is I said, okay, well, let's go and let's do a more full prompt. And here's what I gave it. I'll just give you a quick show and tell here. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. So then I said, okay, this is the full prompt. And you get the idea. Like, this is a much deeper prompt. And this part right here, stop and wait for my feedback before proceeding, or stop and ask me questions before proceeding. We're gonna get into that next week, but oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how powerful it is when you do that. It gives you so many ideas and asks you so many clarifying questions, and you're able to get so much more out of it. But then I had to do step 1, step 2, step 3. We're gonna go through all these details and more detailed prompts in the next lesson. But I had to go through all that and gave it some context, avoid jargon, blah, blah, blah. And this is what it gave me. It gave me an outline. It gave me information to ask me clarifying questions. I gave it clarifying answers right here. And then look at all this. Then it asked me, do you want to proceed? Yes, I do. And then it gave me this. It actually created a document. This is one of the powerful tools that we haven't talked about yet. Create a document. I think it's called Canvas, if I'm remembering. And I can go in here and edit this document. And I can edit different parts of it. Or I can say, hey, I'm really not digging part 1 here. So I can highlight it. And then I can hit Ask ChatGPT. And I can say, hey, rewrite these 3 bullet points. And it'll just rewrite only those 3 bullet points. Or I can say, hey, after this bullet point, add another bullet point about this, 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 and this. And don't forget this, 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 and this. And it'll add all that into my overall document. So it's like I'm collaborating with someone real time within the document, which is just kind of magical. And you can see what it spits out is far better and far more detailed because of my prompt than what the other one spit out. So that's kind of one of the things that I want to show you, is that the difference between a custom GPT and a project. On a project, it has full context and you can get a lot more out of it, and you can get, and it's got this chat history, which is really nice. And so I know, like, so when I later go to week 5, I know it has my chat history from week 4. So it knows everything we did in week 4, and it's got all the documents, and it's got all the information. So for bigger, larger projects where you need to sort of keep track, this is really handy. It's also handy because you can say things like, what did we talk about in week 2? And it can remind me what we talked about in week 2, which was pretty fantastic. So that's a quick overview of that one. Now, Gemini. When you talk about Gemini Gems, Gemini Gems is kind of a mashup of custom GPTs and ChatGPT projects. And so a Gemini Gem, like this is my example of a Gemini Gem, the Project 400 Planner. And if we go over here, I can edit this and it'll look very similar. So we've got, all the knowledge-based stuff here, and then I can give it instructions here about how I want it to behave and what I want it to do. And then I can test out a preview of it here. I can make updates. I haven't made any updates, so it won't let me hit the update button. And then I can go back. This is nice too, because you can add in Google Docs or things from your Google Drive, which is really nice. So this is very similar. You can train it to sort of talk in your language. You can do a lot with this. And so it's really, really nice. One thing it doesn't have, and we're going to get into in a minute, is deep research. And to do that, you'll have to go back to sort of regular Gemini. So if you're going to use, if you're going to create like a fundraising hub or like a grant center, and it needs to sort of contextually understand a bunch of information and have a lot of memory about what you've worked on collaboratively, then projects or a gem are going to work pretty great. If you want something that's more stylized, more voice and tone, like write this email, create this outline of this marketing campaign, whatever, in those cases, I think ChatGPT, custom GPTs is probably a good solution, but ultimately you're just gonna have to sign up and tinker around and sort of see what works best for you. So hope that is helpful. I mentioned this earlier, but I should mention it again, which is this concept of memory. And this is really important because custom GPTs don't have really a memory. It's not going to remember necessarily from one chat to the next what you last talked about. But in projects, and I believe also in Gemini, it's going to remember. And so that way, when you kind of walk through something, you can sort of walk through a marketing campaign and say, hey, based on our last marketing campaign, let's do this next. And it contextually understands what that means. And so that means over time, it's going to improve and get better and be more sort of what you want for it to be as it learns your habits, your idiosyncrasies, that sort of thing. All right. So another couple of quick thoughts, voice input. So there's going to be more voice input stuff coming to ChatGPT in the future. But in the short run, I mean, it probably should be noted that you can just go down here, and it's pretty helpful to just dictate things. So you can dictate things to ChatGPT, And I'm trying to do that right now. There it goes. And I can dictate information to ChatGPT. And so if I don't want to write out this long contextual thing, I can just talk for however long I need to tell it what I needed to do. And then when I'm done, I can hit the check mark button, which I'm not going to do right now. And it will process all of that information and then start to work on my behalf. And so that's really, really helpful. I don't remember if Gemini has that as well. So if you're not sure what to type, you're not sure what to prompt, I think that going ahead and just hitting that voice record button and then just talking through everything is probably going to be a very helpful experience for you. And I would recommend try writing it out and then try talking it out and see which one works better and see what the differences are. Because I think for each person, for each situation, it's going to be a little bit different. So moving to the next thing, which is deep research. So this is kind of interesting. So in ChatGPT, there's a thing called deep research. And let's see, we're back on, I'm gonna go back to the project. Okay, so there's a deep research. So I can go to tools and I can select run deep research. And so let's say, for example, you create a project for grant writing and you would go to start a new chat, you would choose run deep research, and then let's say you're looking for new grants and you say, okay, I run a small nonprofit that focuses on this, this, and this. We're looking for a grant to help us with this specific thing. Here's all of the other criteria about our grants. Go. And what's going to happen is when you've got this research thing checked, it's going to ask you a few clarifying questions, and then it's going to do deep research. And I mean deep, like the level of research that you would literally assign a staff member to do. It's going to search the entire web. It's going to search all kinds of different websites. And then it's going to come back with a lot of information for you, and it's going to cite where that information came from. And so it's an even more powerful search tool than just regular ChatGPT. It actually takes like 15 minutes or sometimes 10 minutes to do the search. It's pretty amazing. In Gemini, same thing. You can't do it from within a gem. You have to do it just from the regular Gemini prompt, but you just select deep research here. You type in what you wanted to research, and it will just go to town and it'll give you all of its background. It'll give you all the information. It'll show you, I mean, find grants for small nonprofits to improve their technology. Okay, so we'll run that here, and then we'll go over to ChatGPT really quick. We'll just run, hold on, we'll just go to a new chat and run the same thing here, just so you can see it in action. So run deep research, and this is what's great. Let's get rid of that. So it's going to ask me a bunch of questions, and I'm going to say 1, Georgia. Make sure you hit Shift Enter when you go down. I'm going to launch it, and that's going to be bad. 2, I'm going to say AI. 3, let's see, looking for no and no. And now it's going to run deep research, and it's going to have like a little nice bar. See, starting research, pretty amazing, right? And let's go look at Gemini. So Gemini just went straight into the deep research. It did not ask me any clarifying questions. It just kind of went for it. So here's a research plan for the topic, and it seems to have failed. That is unfortunate. First time I've experienced that. So there you go. All right, well, moving on. So deep research, great for finding funding opportunities, great for analyzing community needs, great for synthesizing complex reports. Like, it's a very useful tool. I highly recommend that you try it out and try some different things. All right, a couple more things for you. This is going to be great. Gemini is great at inputting visual content and having it parse that data. So great story for you. So I work with a client, and they had a bunch of information about their social media accounts and what had worked and what had not. And it was in this tool that, for whatever reason, would not allow you to export the data, which I found very, very annoying. So instead, I just screenshot. It was like 10 pages of data, like a table with 10 pages of data. So I just screenshot and went to the next page, screenshot, went to the next page, screenshot, next page. And then I uploaded all of that data into AI and said, here, analyze all this for me. And it did, and it was magical. And so you can give it all kinds of information, screenshots of information, graphs, charts, tables, whatever. You can load it up in here. ChatGPT does a pretty good job too, but you can load it up in here and it will analyze it and do an amazing job. The data insights are just out of this world. So if you need a data analyst, start with Gemini. ChatGPT is not bad at either. I think it's worth your time to test them out. But for a cool thing, and I think you'll find this entertaining, Gemini is great at infographics. And I discovered this last week, and I posted this in the goodcollective.us under the AI ahas and questions discussion. So if you haven't gone there, you absolutely should. There's a lot of good stuff there. So let's run a little example of this. So I'm in Gemini. Let's start a new chat. And I'm going to say, create an infographic of the following. So this is from a Gartner white paper, and it's information about women leaving technology senior level things and how that's declining. So it's going to think, and it's probably going to spit out a graphic that's probably going to be okay. But then I'm going to do something different that I think is going to be much better. And so, I really want you to see that in particular because I think it's going to be really neat. So this is actually not bad. Like, this is not a bad graphic at all. I would want to double check sort of how this all plays out because I'm not sure some of this stuff is clear. So I'd want to double check the numbers, but let's say create this infographic as a square in HTML. So if you created an HTML, instead of just doing a graphic layout, it's going to write a bunch of code for you. And then you're going to be able to preview that code inside of here and just take a screenshot of it. So let's see it. Let's wait until it gets done. And then it should, does it give us a preview? There. Generate a prototype in Canvas. Here we go. All right. So now it's giving me the code in Canvas, which is fine. That's not scary because I'm not writing any of it. We're good, right? We're good? Okay, good. And when it's done, I'll be able to hit preview. Here we go, preview. Okay, and it does not look nearly as good as it did in my test version. All right, let's say try again. This looks terrible. All right, let's try that. Let's try that again. This looks terrible. The first version I did honestly was kind of magical. And so it just was such a beautiful representation. So I'm hoping take two will work better, but hang with me and we'll find out together. All right. In the meantime, let's go back and look. Let's see. I just want to see what slide I've got next here. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. All right, great. So we'll come back to the infographic. Which AI is good for what task? The honest answer is they're all good for almost everything. I mean, you just try them out. Like, just test different ones and see the different use cases and see which one works for you. It ends up being a personal preference more than anything else. But in general, if you had to boil it down, text generation, like you can see, ChatGPT is excellent. Gemini is very good. I've used it for both. Visual analysis, Gemini tends to excel. Document parsing, Gemini might be a hair better. I've not really tested a ton, but according to reports, it's a hair better. Creative writing, ChatGPT tends, in my opinion, to do a little bit better. But again, it's to each his own. So let's go back and see how our infographic is looking. Look at that, much better. That's a much better infographic. Still kind of weird gaps at the bottom here. So we could probably improve upon that. But my point is that you can just create this in HTML the way you want it to, and then you can just do a little screenshot of the graphic if you want to share it on social. And now it's ready to share, which is kind of magical. I've created much larger infographics with this that were just fantastic. I had the other day, I needed to create, let me see if I can't even find it. I think it's in a different account. But the other day I had to create an overview of how to how to shoot video for an event. And so I wrote it all out, and it was like 5 or 6 points. And then I created an infographic exactly like this to sort of visualize each of those 5 or 6 points. And what it came up with was absolutely amazing. So, and I think I posted that graphic, as a matter of fact, in the goodcollective.us, another good reason to go there. So moving back to our lesson here. All right, chaining tasks. All right, we haven't talked about chaining tasks, but you need to be chaining tasks together as you're working with AI. And what that means is, like, if you start out saying, like, let's say you want to write a donor email, right? So don't start just with the email. I'm going to go up to it. I'm going to go through this in a minute. We're going to break down complex projects. We're going to enhance the output quality because you've broken it down piece by piece and collaborated with AI on each piece along the way, and you're going to save a lot of time. So here's an example. Donor email example. All right, so start with ideation. So you're going to brainstorm a donor messaging and donor messaging approaches with AI, and you're going to be like, hey, AI, I need help with some donor messaging. Here are the key points. What do you think I should write about? Let's collaborate about it, blah, 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 blah. Step 2. All right, now we've decided this is our topic. Now let's talk about subject lines. What should the subject line of the email be? Let's talk about several different options. Let's choose an option. All right, now we've got the ideation. Now we have the subject line. All right, AI, now help me draft the email. And mind you, you're doing all of this in the same chat window. You're not starting a new chat every time because the context of all the above conversations helps it improve its output as you continue in the process. And so, all right, now we got the ideation. Now we have the subject line. Now help me draft the email. And it drafts the email, and then you refine it, do this, oh, let's do this, whatever. And then you personalize to the donor, and then you send it out. It's going to be a much better end result than if you had just tried to do it all at one time. It's an iterative process. It's like having a whiteboard session with your smart, new, capable, active, ready to go 24/7 intern that is just amazing and has the full knowledge of the internet at their fingertips. So that is what's going to be the homework for this week. So in the emails that are going to come out shortly, that's going to be the assignment for you to go through some of this stuff, for you to try out some of these deeper research tools, for you to try an iterative process with AI. And again, a disclaimer, I know I'm getting into some paid account stuff. It's probably a $20 a month investment. I think it's worth the investment for you to get this additional level of productivity out of your tool of choice. So please bear that in mind. If you haven't already, go sign up for the goodcollective.us because there is a community of learners there that are learning about AI the same time as you. We're talking about the lessons as we go through them. We're sharing aha moments. We're sharing feedback with one another. There's a chat feature. I'm creating additional tools. I've got links to all the tools that I use inside of that. There's an AI resources area. I've got the AI tool that I use for meetings. I've got the AI tool that I use for all kinds of different things all listed in there, and I'm adding to it all the time. So if you're not a part of the goodcollective.us, please go sign up for the goodcollective.us. And if you haven't already shared Project 900 with your friends, please go and share with your friends. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and see you next time.